Hi, I'm Elgin Baylor, and this is the American Athlete. In high school, I just enjoyed the fact that, the schools played one another. Then they had a recreation center during the summer that I would play with, and then they had teams that I would play. And I just, loved the game of basketball. I never thought about anything beyond that, professionally or anything like that. And as the years went on, I developed myself physically. I got bigger and stronger and better. And then it ended up as a career in college. I got a scholarship to go to college. And from there, I was drafted the first pick in the draft in 58-59 season to go to the NBA. And that was, something that really was the greatest thing that ever happened, because I love basketball, and to be the first pick in the NBA draft was really something.
Elgin's love of basketball can be seen on his face whenever he talks about the game. When the Lakers made him the #1 pick, he not only energized the fan base, but helped a franchise on the brink.
I was just happy to be playing basketball and, being the #1 pick. But I didn't know the situation they were in, because before I came there, they weren't drawing, they were losing money. And then I remember the owner telling me that I saved the franchise. I said, I don't know how I saved the franchise, We didn't win a heck of a lot of games, but it worked out fine. It was a good group of guys I played with, and one guy special called Hot Rod Hundley. And for some reason, he would throw the ball to me every time I'm out there on the floor. And one time I was sitting on the bench, out of the game. It was time out, something like that. I was on the bench and out there playing, and he threw me the ball. He threw the ball to me sitting on the bench. I don't think it's any different, that playing in the playoffs or playing during the regular season. Because you're still the same person. And the thing about it, you're going to play the team that you played during the season, and each one know everything about each other. What moves, what shots you like to take, and things you like to do. It's no different. You don't try to change the style of your game or anything like that. Somehow, the media and everybody build it up hype, say make it up. Some coaches do that. They're going to try to run a new, different offense or something like that. And sometimes it works, sometimes, most of the time it doesn't, It's fun. The fun time was the playoffs, those difficult times, and I think that's when you get out there and you give it your best. Well, the fans at home, we played home games, they were great. I mean, they sell out every night. It was on the road, it was so difficult. Some cities, like St. Louis, Missouri, was, they were called racial names, stuff like that. It was tough playing there in St. Louis. But other than that, and all the other cities we played in, it was fine. This was a city that was a problem, players didn't want to play there. They would get it from the people on the bench, behind the bench, on the sideline, calling names and all that. So, you get to the point where you just turn it off.
Baylor not only had to deal with racism during his time in the NBA, but a leg injury almost stopped his prolific career short.
No, it was, very, 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 very difficult, having that particular injury, because the type of injury I had, the doctor would told me, well, there's nothing else they could do. My concern was, at that time, would I be healthy and normal, be able to do things, that I normally do on the season. And it was, very, very difficult playing. I don't know if I was the same player. I didn't feel like I could do the same things that I could do before I got the injury. But somehow I was, good enough to make the all-pro team, first team, and everything else. And then later on, it progressed, it got worse. And then eventually got to the point where I just couldn't do it anymore and had to retire.
Despite the injury, he still amassed 10 All-NBA first-team selections, was an 11-time All-Star, and once scored 71 points in a single game, but he was far from done. Elgin would go on to become an NBA executive for the LA Clippers for 22 years.
You have to have an organization where, if you want to be successful in pro basketball, and I'm sure just other sports too, and you're talking about football, baseball, you have to have a close relationship with the players, knowing that they're going to want to play for you, give you 100%, but also you have to have the money to pay the players what they're they should be paid. And we had, there's a problem with that. We had ownership that didn't want to pay the players like the other teams were being paid. And it created a problem, but, eventually, the NBA got involved in it and, sort of worked things out.
Plenty of stories come along with a Hall of Fame career, but as a humble superstar, it took his wife's loving encouragement for him to put it all down on paper.
Well, writing a book, I guess my wife, she's always telling me you should write a book, because we would talk about my career and everything else, and then she's always saying you should write a book. And, I'm glad I did, because, it's like my teammates, a lot of guys, have read the book, talked about it, and they were happy that I mentioned them. And my wife, I give her all the credit because she's the one who's behind all of it, helped me out, And without her, I don't think it would have been possible.
And one of the craziest moments in the book didn't come from the hardwood, but from a wild plane ride back to L.A.
Beginning there, I got a little worried because the pilot, came up and said, he said, hey, we have a problem. We don't know if we can be able to land. I said, what? And so he told us all to buckle up and everything else. And I was sitting up there, and then I went to the bathroom, and I came back to the bathroom. Somebody was sitting in my seat when I came back. It was a co-pilot. He sat in my seat, and I said, what you doing up here? You should be up there with the pilot. And we were circling and circling and circling. And the pilot came and talked to us and said, well, you think they're running low on fuel. They might get out of fuel. So he said, there's a place down there that we saw we might be able to land. So we crash landed, but it was a smooth landing. We ended up in the cornfield, and you can hear the corn hitting against the airplane, boom, 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 like that, see? And so finally we came to a stop, and everything was fine. Got a bus and thing, pick us up, took us into the hotel. And so happened, the pilot got suspended for that because they said when he landed, he had his wheels down. He should have had his wheels up. I could not believe that. But everything worked out fine.